Who wants to take the lead on what happened in the States? Obviously, that was a couple of days ago.
Well, I was watching the election results from the United States come in while I was at a casino as a volunteer, and I thought, what an appropriate metaphor as I'm watching the United States gamble on their future.
I was drinking whiskey. But
I was doing volunteer service at a casino.
I'm not always doing that, Graham.
Well, I mean, we're sitting here today. We've now had 2 days to process the news that our neighbors to the south are very important neighbors to the south. It's not just like they're neighbors a few blocks away that we can ignore, have elected Donald Trump as president. And so now we are forced to deal with a few things. One, we have to reconcile what that says about our neighbors and whether we can talk to them or not. And sadly, the fact is we can't ignore them because for Canada and for Alberta, they are our biggest trading partner. So our leaders are having to figure out how they, I guess, put their feelings aside and put on a smile and take the cookies next door and welcome him.
Rachel Notley congratulated him on behalf of all the people of Alberta, and I saw some people saying, well, maybe not on behalf of me, said some people on Twitter, but that's not the point. The point is that there is a form of words. Sarah is right. You do not, you can't, there are niceties that must be observed, even if you don't always think other people are nice.
There's also some things that we have to think about. We have to think about the fact that the House and the Senate are now Republican controlled. So you have something that has not happened for a very, very long time, where if the Republicans in the House and Senate, who are more of the traditional Republicans, can get along with the presidential candidate, they have the potential to pass a lot of policy change. We've been next to a neighbor who's been living through a logjam where you have a Democratic president and Republicans blocking policy of all kinds and making things very, very difficult for agendas to move forward on budgets, on any host of issues, healthcare. It's all been very, very challenging. That could change if they can get along. But Trump is such a wild card. I don't think we know yet exactly how that will play out, except that the Republicans who previously were like, oh, no, he doesn't represent our brand of republicanism, are now all seem to be doing the same thing that his northern neighbors do and just kind of saying, okay, well, we can work with this.
Well, the question is going to be now, I mean, Trump, what he ran on versus what he might actually do in the White House may be 2 different things, but he certainly ran on a campaign that was filled with protectionist, isolationist rhetoric. What does that mean for Alberta and for Canada as trading partners? Some people have been saying, "Well, this is going to be great because we'll get the Keystone Pipeline built." But remember, if you actually look at what actually Trump actually has said about Keystone, he wanted a bigger take of the action for America somehow. And there may be oil interests in the United States who are not particularly keen to see Canadian bitumen flowing in, not for environmental reasons, but for protectionist ones. Then there's softwood lumber, which is a hugely important industry in Alberta. Our softwood lumber treaty is up. We were about to renegotiate. If Trump wants to bring in tariffs against Canadian softwood lumber, or go back to this old argument about stumpage and all that, that could be very bad for Alberta's lumber industry.
And
so
we
just
have climate change.
Yeah, and then we have climate change, which is a plot that the Chinese made up, right?
Well, yeah. Rachel Notley yesterday, after she congratulated Trump, said, no matter what, she's moving ahead with the climate leadership plan here in Alberta. And she also made a point of saying that she's going to go to bat for Alberta if and when it comes to renegotiating trade agreements. For example, Donald Trump did say he wanted to rip up NAFTA, basically.
You betcha.
Yep. And the ambassador to Canada said that if Trump yesterday wants to renegotiate that deal, that Canada is ready to come to the table.
Yeah.
So,
and I think that's going to be a large concern for Alberta. I mean, the US is the biggest trading partner in energy. So,
well, in basically everything. When I was researching this yesterday, I mean, energy makes up a huge portion of it, but it was more than $80 billion last year that went from Alberta to the United States.
That's a lot of money.
In some information that the Economic Development Department put out, I mean, if you look at Alberta's top 20 export locations, 17 of them are U.S. states. And then, there's China. So we really, really rely on the United States to take everything from our energy to our plastics to our wood pulp to our agriculture.
It's a two-way street. The U.S., we buy a lot of stuff from the U.S. It's not as if we're just selling everything. We are a big customer for them as well. So they need us as well.